We welcome you, Anders, to Rock Hard Greece.
Thank you.
It's I have to say that I really enjoyed listening to Foregone album.
Thank you.
And we have a lot of things to discuss about it and the current status of In Flames. So let's begin with something obvious that I'm pretty sure that all journalists ask the same thing. All the bands that have released the album just after the pandemic.
Yeah.
We hear a more aggressive version of In Flames in this album, and I guess that pandemic and the whole things, the whole situations around Europe, the war in Ukraine, and all that stuff, I think they added some elements to the aggression that we hear on the Foregone album.
Yeah, 100%. It was crazy, like a weird time, for us. I've been part of this band for a long time. I've been touring my whole grown-up life, and all of a sudden, when the pandemic hit, we were obviously no one know exactly the situation of the world, but as time went on and we realized, okay, this can take a while, it was extremely frustrating, and I was missing my touring family. I was missing the band, the crew, and the fans and everyone, and being stuck here at home all the time. It's just, yeah, things were bubbling up to the surface, and I love being part of this band. I love going on the road, and when you can't do that, there's frustration building up. So having that, when we were finally able to get together again, a lot of frustration came out and went into this album. And while we were recording the album, the war started in Ukraine. So there was a lot of things that happening at the same time, that fueled the fire, so to speak, on the album.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that with Foregone, you approach what I could say a perfect blend of what In Flames was in the past and what In Flames has been in the recent years? I think there's a perfect blend between the early In Flames era and the late In Flames era.
Yeah. I mean, I like that we've been a band that's been, going through changes, and we have different, eras of the band. I think it makes interesting, instead of, because I don't want to be in a band that makes the same album again and again and again. And sometimes, you maybe you find that perfect balance, and maybe that's where we are right now. It's not something that we thought of. We always feel that we have our roots with us, and it's just they come out in different ways, I guess. And the only thing we said when we started writing for the album, and while we were recording it, it's like we want to we've been missing a little bit an aggressive tone, and we wanted, like, the last few albums been like, when it came to the mix and the production, it's been a little bit too laid back, in a sense. Like, I think a lot of the songs are really, really good, but when it comes to the final mix, we didn't get the edge, and we were really working with this and had that in the back of our heads while we were doing this album. So I think that's maybe that's the blend where we, like, our melodies and aggression, because that's the DNA of In Flames, the melody and aggression, and maybe that comes forward in a better and stronger way with this album. Because I mean, In Flames is my not my whole life, but a big part of my life,
Part of your life,
and so it's constantly, even though when I'm not on the road, I'm thinking about In Flames, I'm thinking about the music. So we're always in it. It's very hard to get outside of the bubble. Therefore, for us, we have a different view, I guess, of the band than someone from the outside that only hear us every third year or fourth year or every, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
whenever you release an album, yeah.
So for me, the changes are not as great as it is for maybe someone from the outside. But I'm happy if people think this is a good blend. I think it's a great blend for what In Flames are and what we stand for. And if that how people find it too, I think it's awesome because there's so many layers to this band. You know, we're not just one type of In Flames. There's several types of In Flames in a way.
Yeah, and one might like one reincarnation of In Flames and
Yeah,
not like the other. Okay, it's
yeah, and that's very natural. That's how it is too. You know,
yeah.
like whatever it is in
You
life,
would be
you know.
bored to death, I think, if you were stale.
That too, but I think it's cool that people have different feelings and vibes, and that's how this music genre evolves, and that's how we, you know, cope with life. If everything was just tasting the same, smelling the same, sounding the same, it would be extremely boring, you know.
Yeah, and I think that you have brought a new generation of fans that wouldn't exist if you released albums just like Clayman and Oracle and all these milestones of this genre.
Yeah, I think those songs became milestones way later. They were not milestones when we released them, you know. They now people look at them as this
Yeah,
golden era or whatever, but it took many years. I think looking back at the whole career, 10 years from now, you know, maybe this album would be one of the greater ones or whatever, you know, like
might be, yeah.
it's very I just find I'm so happy and grateful that we can still do what we love, you know.
Hmm.
That's because I have this journey I'm on, what I've been doing. It's amazing, you know. I wouldn't want to be it in any different way.
Yeah, and now you are not Swedish band. You and Bjorn are from Sweden, and the other three members of the band are from the US.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Bryce and Tanner have already played in your previous album, but you recruited Chris Broderick, who's a fantastic guitar player.
yeah.
And I would like you to tell me, how did he join the band, and what are the elements that he brought, and maybe rejuvenate the band, because we hear lots of fantastic and melodic twin guitar solos in this album.
Yeah, first address the fact that we are two Swedes and three Americans. I mean, it's still me and Björn that writes and arrange everything, you know. So
Yeah,
the other guys obviously add their talent, and when it comes to recording, they are doing their parts and in a fantastic way. And without them, we would have sounded different, you know. And not to put any shadow on any former members, but I think the way we sound like today, we've never been sounding better. That, and I think people hear that when they see us live too. So yeah, Bryce been in the band 6 years, and Tanner almost 5, and Chris joined us when we started touring for our previous album, I the Mask, because Niklas couldn't go on the road. So we had to get someone really quick because we had like just a few days before we were supposed to go on tour. So we like, what do we do? Our muse, we didn't want to cancel because that, I mean, that would let we would let down a lot of fans that bought the tickets and stuff like that. But at the same time, In Flames music is meant to be played with two guitars. You know, we didn't want to have a guitar on tape, for instance, and just Björn playing. It's not the way we want to do it. So we were like thinking a lot, and then like, okay, we're going to US. Who do we know? Okay, Chris is not doing anything right now with Act of Defiance, so let's call him up and see what he can do. So he had just a 1 or 2 days before the tour to learn it, and we were rehearsing a day or two in the States, and he was learning the music all the time, like in between takes and stuff like that. So he had to learn the set list really quick. And yeah, and then uh, for this album, we just, you know, it's been such a good, he's really good addition, you know. And the thing is like, you can we when you join In Flames, you I mean, we expect everybody to know their part, right? But the social side of things, like how you are as a person off stage, how you are acting in a group of people, how are you in a tour bus for a long time, that's extremely important as well. And since we knew Chris already from Jag Panzer days and Nevermore and Megadeth, we toured with him many years, and we've been friends for a long time before he was even, we didn't think about him as a new guitar player. So it was, we already had that fixed, you know. And obviously we knew he was a talented guitar player, but him coming into the band, it's been amazing, and the vibe with everyone, and with Bryce and Tanner too, and it's just, you know, it makes me and Björn feel really proud and happy, and makes us sound better too. I mean, I think Björn, he loves the challenge of having someone like Chris, you know, in the band, because Björn tells him he's almost his mentor and his teacher on the road. And I never seen Björn playing this much guitar outside of the stage or outside of the studio. They actually, and Chris is playing guitar all the fucking time. It's like he's not doing anything else but eating strange food and playing guitar, you know, playing guitar constantly. So he's on the tour bus all the time, blah, blah, noodling around. And Björn, you know, he sees that and he also want to play. So, and it's a good, they connect, they gel really well. They come from it, they have a different school. Björn is more old school, like, you know, coming the Rainbow, the Dio, Van Halen, Sabbath, and all that. That's his like bread and butter. And Chris come from a different school, right? But they gel really well together. And so when we recorded this album, we left some parts out, and it's like, okay, this is a good place for Chris to add his solo. This is a good place for him to do some melodies, and the way he executed them in the studio were amazing.
Yeah, I think that people do not understand easily the fact that a new member has to glue with the others.
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean, it takes a while, you know, like it's not that easy, especially since Björn and I, we've known each other for such a long time, you know, like everybody has to feel like they are how can I say? And I mean, it's not easy. We're like, you know, two brothers, you know, and for
sure.
Everyone to feel comfortable around us when we have our talk and do our thing. It's not, maybe it's not that easy sometimes, but the guys are doing it really well. So I hope we can stick around for quite some time, but we'll see.
Nuclear Blast has been acquired by Believe, which is a digital, very big, the biggest digital company, music. Did this affect you in any way? I mean, the album is going to be released on the 10th of February, and now it's the 18th of January, and we already have 5 singles out.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I don't even think about it, you know, Believe is not in my, I talk to Nuclear Blast, that's who I talk to, and that's our, you know, our home, and we work with them. They were the first that gave us a real shot, you know, like on Gesture Race and so on, for coming from a smaller independent label in Sweden, and they really helped build our career. And then we went on a few labels, and then now we're back. You know, it feels like coming home, and they've been extremely supportive to us. They, you know, we signed a deal, they gave us money, and we went to the US and start recording, and they didn't hear anything until we were done. So a big props to them for giving us that so much confidence and believing in us, that they you know, they trust us to do what we do. And I haven't talked to anyone and Believe. I don't know who they are. You know what I mean? I have no connection. And releasing singles, I mean, I think that is more our idea than Nuclear Blast idea. You know, we tell them like, we want to do it this way, and then they do it, you know. And I think that if they wouldn't agree with us, they would definitely say no. But it's been such a, again, going back to the pandemic, you know, like we were cut short of I think we were 1 year into the touring cycle of Either Mask. So, and when the pandemic hit, obviously we had to go home. So the whole last year, even though we had a new album recorded, it was still kind of touring under Either Mask, you know. But we wanted to show, since we had this new album, and we wanted to get some new songs into the set list to make it feel fresh and not just playing old stuff, and setting up for the new album. So that's why we've been releasing a bunch of singles, and we played pretty much all of them. I mean, obviously not Meet Your Maker, but which came out the other day, but the other ones we pretty much played live, and that was the reason.
Which is speaking about labels and stuff, which is the worst piece of advice a label or a person, manager or something, gave you and you listened to him?
I
Because you have
don't
heard.
know. I mean, yeah, when we when we um we went into the recording of Battles, so like two albums back, we had a new management, and we were in a new, like, they talked to us and it's like, you should try to work with other people, you should try to write with other people, and both Björn and I were like, we always been like, no, this is our way, this is our way, but we said, like, for once maybe we should just say yes, like it could, what could it do? At least we can learn something from it, right? So we started writing with some other people, and that is not like it's bad, because you, as I say, you learn something from it, but we realize it's not for us, because some people come from so much from the outside, they don't understand what we are doing, that I don't think it was that great for us, but so I wouldn't say it's a bad advice. It depends on how we deal with it, the advice, but I don't think it was good for us. So when it comes to this album, and let's do everything on our own again, like we did back in the day, and I feel that's when we're on the right track, and so, but I'm not saying it's wrong to write with other people. That could be great, maybe for other bands, but for In Flames, it's just like, nah,
It's not working. It's not working.
nah, not really, not really. I mean, I think we turn into something that we're really not, and yeah, but we were, sometimes you have to say yes, just
Yeah,
to
okay. You try and you don't
yeah,
do that again. Okay.
yeah, no, no,
You
no,
learn
no,
from
no.
it. That's it.
Yeah. So it wasn't a total mistake. It was
Yeah.
just, we understood where we are and what we have and so on. So yeah.
It's a learning process. I
Mm-hmm.
see it like this.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, you re-recorded a few songs of the Clayman album. How
Yeah.
do you see that move? And do you think that it might have influenced you in any way, re-recording those songs, so getting back that vibe of that era?
I don't think so, but maybe unintentionally, I don't
Mm.
know. The thing is, we never celebrated any of our albums. We when you're on the road, some fans come up and say, "Oh, today Yesterday turns blah 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 this amount of years," and oh, today Colony turned whatever,
Yeah.
and then when it came to Clayman, we were like, we're in the like what, let's celebrate something, at least just give a little pat on the shoulder, like, you've been good, and for some, I don't know, it feels like there's a like the Clayman would be in the middle of everything, like a time before and a time after. But Clayman is only a couple of albums in, and we have done way more albums after Clayman. But if sometimes it just, for me, it feels like it's in the middle. So it was a good thing to just to celebrate it. And actually, I just want to do the cover, the cover and the booklet again, because all the songs are great, but the artwork was terrible on the original. So I really want to do that again. And re-recording those songs, we could have turned those songs into something else, but we want to keep it very fresh and natural, and more hard rock than metal, and it was fun. So maybe it influenced us in some way, but it was more a celebration than anything else.
Um, how do you how do you think that the pandemic is still affecting the touring? In a few words, can you explain us?
too too much traffic out there, like so many bands out, fighting for people's attention and money, and you, as a fan, you can't afford to go to all these shows. It's just impossible. And there's not enough venues, there's not enough gear, there's not enough people working for you, there's not enough buses. So it's still, I think I mean, we were all like, can we play, and as soon as we were allowed to play, everyone came out at the same time. So I think it will take a couple of years before we get into the rhythm that we used to have, if we ever. But yeah, I'm still so grateful that people are coming out to see us and have a good time with us, because as I said, it can't be easy to go to all these shows.
Yeah, yeah. Recently, you have also released a solo album, If Anything Suspicious. Why did
Yeah,
you decide to do such a thing, which is completely different from what you do with In Flames?
yeah. I wouldn't. I mean, it would be just stupid to do something that
Yeah,
sounds like In Flames when I'm already in Flames. But it was reaction to the pandemic. I didn't know what to do, so I bought, as you see behind me, and I'm sitting in my home studio. I bought a lot of analog gear, like a lot of synths and stuff, and drum machines, and learned to play a piano, and just I needed something to do, and I wanted to create like a soundtrack to the time I was in. No vocals, no lyrics. I just want to paint a picture, a story with sounds, and try to be as far away from In Flames as possible, so no one can say anything about it, really. And
yeah,
it wasn't really meant to become an album and something I was releasing. I was just having a good time and kill time, basically,
yeah, yeah.
instead of doing nothing. I'm pretty creative, and I need an outlet. I need stuff to do. So yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Uh, I've heard you mentioning the fact that the band Halo Effect, which consists of mostly previous members of In Flames, sound more like Dark Tranquillity than In Flames, and I agree with you on that. Would you tour with this band? Do you think that this a tour with you two would make sense?
I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll see in the future, whatever happens. I mean, we're on our path and they're on their path, and we don't know. We'll see. Um, um,
How would it feel if they played some old In Flames stuff uh, that you don't play, of course? So
how it would feel.
yeah, how would it feel?
I that I don't really, I don't really think about it. And I think from their perspective, I think it would be better for them to do their own material instead of
Mm,
being,
yeah,
always connected to. Because
yeah,
I mean, it's now they released an album, and yes, as you said, they consist of In Flames members, or former In Flames members, and I think they need to break out of that
yeah,
to have a longevity. Because I mean, the first album is it's always something, but then you need a second, a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. And it can't always be like, oh, used to be In Flames, used to be In Flames. It's for their own sake. I think they had to
yeah. It's mostly a
try to break
marketing
away
thing.
from that. So if they want to do In Flames songs, yeah, whatever, that's totally
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Can you tell me which are the three most important albums in the history of In Flames, apart from Foregone? Three most important, not your best.
Well, I mean, that's so difficult to say, because if you take away one album, the next album would not be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really say which ones are the most important. I think for me, Gesturate is the most important because that's my first, and the rest is after. So I can't really pick three. I know you want three, but I can't give you three.
I
You
I
know?
just I just want you to say your opinion. I don't care if you pick three, five,
Yeah,
or one.
yeah. No, I mean, I think they're all equally important in a way.
Yeah, I'd like to know your point of view on that because
Yeah,
that's a point of view.
yeah.
That's a point of view. And before the end, in the recent years, you haven't done lots of guest things. The last one you did was with Within Temptation,
Hmm.
the song "Raise Your Banner." How and I really enjoy that because it's a completely different thing
Yeah.
to play with. How did that happen, and how do you see that participation in the song?
I mean, it was fun. It's and it's always it's. I mean, I don't do a lot of them. I do it once in a while. These things, and it's good to get out of your comfort zone and to work with someone else. Because I think as soon as you put my voice over someone else's music, to me it sounds different, you know, because In Flames and my voice, we are so, it's so gelled, you know, like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
hear it immediately. But we were supposed, we were going on tour together, us and Within Temptation in the States, and the question came from them, I think, through my management, and they asked me if I wanted to be part of a song, and I was like, yeah, I don't, that'd be fun, you know. And it's a great band, great, amazing people. I love those, the whole band, and they just sent me the track and some lyrics, and I did way more on that song. So I sang through the whole thing, and then I sent everything to them, and they said, use whatever you want. It's your music, it's your song. So, and then they yeah, they used whatever, and
Yeah.
and that's fine.